Hugh Nguyen was born in Saigon in 1967 in the middle of the Vietnam War. His mother knew almost nothing about his U.S. military father. Hugh fled his home country in 1975, one day before the fall of Saigon, with his family, and came to America with thousands of other refugees on the USS Midway, U.S. Navy rescue mission. Hugh is now the Clerk-Recorder for Orange County, California, and the only Vietnamese American clerk in the country. With all of his success, Hugh always wondered about his father, and through Ancestry.com, he made an incredible discovery. Here to talk about his migration journey and quest to find his father is Hugh Nguyen. Welcome, Hugh, and thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me here today, Brad.
So, Hugh, you were born in Vietnam, right?
Yeah, I was born in Vietnam in 1967. My mom is Vietnamese, and my dad was an American soldier who I never met.
Were you aware as a child that your dad was an American?
Yes, growing up as an Amerasian, that's what we were called. It was tough in Vietnam, right? I looked different. I was light skinned, light eyes, and I would get picked on and get into a lot of fights, right? My mom, who was young, 17, gave me to my grandparents to raise me. But my grandparents did the best they can, and my aunt. And so growing up was tough, Brad. But you know what? I learned a lot growing up in Vietnam. I learned to be a strong person with a lot of love in my family. And so toward the end of the war, when I was 7.5 years old, my aunt, who was very nervous about myself, and I have a sister also, you know, the communists were not really nice to us, right? Mm-hmm. Here's an Amerasian kid with a father who's an American soldier, and my mom is a South Vietnamese woman. So my aunt gave us up to adoption to an agency called Operation Baby Lift. We were there overnight, but the next day, I found out many years later, my grandma, who was missed us so much, that she made my aunt come back and get us.
Right. So
it was like 9 a.m. in the morning when she came and got us. And 2 o'clock or so that afternoon, Brad, that plane crashed in a rice field, killing like 130
right.
people.
They were airlifting children out of Vietnam. It's possible,
yes.
You don't know for a fact, but it's possible you could have been on that plane and not even been with us today, but for your aunt coming to get you in that morning.
Yes, and I believe, you know, God had a plan for me from that moment, right? And so we came back home, and my aunt, who worked at the American Embassy, found out a few days later that she was allowed to bring some family members over to America. So it was her two sisters, my grandma and grandpa, my sister and I, so 7 of us. We had a driver come and pick us up, drop us off at a bus that is designated to go to the airport at Tan Son Nhat Airport. And so when we got to, when we were driving there, Brad, it was so chaotic. People were trying to climb on the bus. It was toward the end of the fall of Vietnam, the 29th. And so I remember getting into the airport, and the soldiers who were guarding the airport allowed us in. But things that stuck in my mind, Brad, were to see a bus next to us with hands underneath the carriage. I couldn't see if it was a man or a woman or a child, but it's just a fight to get into the airport for freedom.
How did they decide, other than it was your aunt who worked at the embassy, how did they decide who was able to come to America? Do you remember?
I believe it was a program that if you were affiliated with the American embassy or Americans, that they allow my aunt to take our family over.
Mm-hmm. So other people were just trying to sneak in, I guess. And that's what all that clamoring was.
Yeah, and other people are trying to climb over because they see it as freedom, right? And so when we got to the airport, all of a sudden the airport got bombed. The Republic of Vietnam, thinking that they didn't want the communists to land at the airport, they bombed the airport. So freedom went out that door because now we had no planes to come rescue us. And so we spent the night. I remember spending the night at the airport, laying on the concrete floor, with a lot of refugees that were there with me.
Do you remember being scared?
Oh, yeah. I heard a lot of shooting around. I saw soldiers who were hurt, bleeding from being shot or being injured. And so, yeah, we spent the night. It was scary. We didn't know if we were going to leave our country because we were stuck at the airport.
Right.
And so the next morning, Brad, they activated the Operation Frequent Wind, which is called. And so it was rescue by helicopters at the airport and at the embassy. And so I remember that day clearly when they took us in the back of the airport area and helicopters started coming in.
You came with no money, I assume.
Nothing.
You didn't know
Came
where you were
with
going to
nothing.
live.
Nope.
Didn't speak English.
Did not speak English.
Right. And the helicopter took you right to the USS Midway, right?
Yes.
Which was an
So when
aircraft
the helicopter came in, it rescued us. We landed on the USS Midway. And then from there, we went to the Philippines, to Guam. We were flown to El Toro Base in Orange County. And then we camped out at Camp Pendleton in San Diego for 2 months. And then we were sponsored by Grace Lutheran Church, Brad, on Labor Day week in September. Our whole family to El Centro, California.
So tell me what was involved in them sponsoring you. What did they do to help you?
They would take care of us by paying our rent for a year, giving us allowances for food for a year. And while they were doing that to help us survive in America, my aunt picked up 2 jobs. It's just amazing what she went through. And I went to school to learn how to speak English. And my other 2 aunts picked up odd jobs. I mean, from working at a motel to sewing. My aunt who spoke English got a job tutoring at a school where I went to school, McKinley Elementary in El Centro, California.
Was it tough growing up as a child here, not knowing the language, maybe looking a little different?
We were the first Vietnamese family to come to El Centro, California. So to learn to speak English, and also to adjust, I looked different again, Brad. And so I would get picked on because I didn't speak English well, right?
Right.
And so it was tough. Yeah, it was tough. But you know what? I started just as an early age, I learned not to give up and just to keep going forward and stand my ground. And I started participating in sports, started making some good friends. And so it helped out a lot. But yeah, it was tough being teased at all the time.
And now you've grown into this great success. You've eventually become the first elected Vietnamese American to become a county clerk recorder. Now tell me, how did you get involved in saying, I want to run to be the county clerk?
So I started in '94 as a document examiner, and I worked my way up all the way to becoming a supervisor, a manager, and then the first Vietnamese American Clerk-Recorder in the United States. I never planned on running for an elected office, but the position is elected. And so I just worked my way up, Brad, and eventually in 2010, I got a big promotion, and I was working at the clerk of the board for the board of supervisor. And then I ran for election because the guy who was there, who was my previous boss, was going to run for something else, right, Brad?
Right.
And so last minute, he comes back and runs, and I'm stuck in the middle, and I ran. And I got beat pretty bad. If it was in sports, I got mercy. And a year and a half later, he ran for assembly, and he won. And so the board of supervisor had to appoint somebody to take his seat to finish his term. And I was appointed on April 2013 as the county clerk recorder. And so a year and a half later, I had to run for my first term. Mm-hmm. And so in 2014, I won my first election to becoming the first Vietnamese American clerk recorder.
Wow, amazing. Tell me, what does the county clerk recorder do?
It's a very important office, Brad. I safeguard and protect all records for all 3.3 million residents in Orange County. So we issue birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate. People who wants to become a notary, they file their bond with us. We do passports. People come and do passports at our office, and we take photos. Also, we issue marriage licenses. You can't get married anywhere until they come to our office to get a marriage license. And we perform civil ceremonies, weddings at our office. We do a fictitious business name. Owners who file new businesses, they have to file their fictitious business name. And we record real property documents. Anybody who buys a home, grant deed, deeds of trust, or refinance, they have to record it with my office before they can move in. And I have archive records back to 1889 when the County of Orange became the County of Orange.
Does it give you like joy? Do you chuckle? You're like, oh my God, my name is on all these, it's like George Washington on the dollar bill,
No, you know what? I pinch myself,
Right.
And I thank God every day that I'm so blessed to live in this country, right? That gave me this opportunity. And who knew 44 years ago when we came over that I would be sitting here being the county clerk recorder. And so it's a blessing. I smile and I pinch myself every day that I'm blessed to be where I'm at.
And certainly is living the American dream, literally coming here as a refugee with nothing and having the position you are today, not even speaking the language, not coming with money. And you could have been very easily left in Vietnam and had a completely different life experience. You could have died in that plane crash. Do you feel any extra energy or aura or something that says, when you think about how your life could have turned out and how it did turn out, that you have to keep excelling, keep being successful?
Yes, Brad, I do. I really look forward to waking up every morning, to be blessed, to have the opportunity to live in this country, because I know there's a lot of Amerasian, you're right, that are still left over, are still stuck in Vietnam, right? And so, yeah, I feel bad for all the Amerasians, because, there were over 25,000 Amerasian that was conceived during the war. And so, yeah, I feel blessed, and I do work hard every day. We have a big population, Brad, in Orange County for Vietnamese American, and our community is so powerful. I mean, what I mean by that is they work so hard. They give it all they got. There's a lot of business owners. There's a lot of successful people. I see teachers and police officers, and I'm just so proud of our community, right? Every time I go down there, they're proud of me, and I'm proud of them. But we do work hard, and we give it all we got, because I think we know that we had nothing, Brad. So coming over, we had to work hard.
Do you have ambition for a higher office? I assume you're very happy in your position now.
No, sir. I'm good where I'm at.
You're good where you're at.
Yeah, I have 25 years. I get recruited all the time to run for Congress and Assembly and Senate here in Orange County to represent the Vietnamese community. But you know what, Brad? I have the experience to do this job, and I'm really good at what I do, and I enjoy it. It's not about the next level of the power. It's about enjoying what I do.
With all this success, what made you decide in 2015 to go look for your father?
Growing up all my life, it was tough. I played a lot of sport competitively in high school and was pretty good at it. But I always had that missing piece in my heart. Not having parents there to support me, Brad, it was so tough. I wonder how he looked, how he sounded like. So growing up, yeah, I always thought about someday hoping to find my dad, but not until 2015 when I was in more of the spotlight. Now people pay attention a little bit. I was at an event one day, and a newspaper writer from the OC Register says, "Hugh, you're in charge of everybody's record from birth, death, and marriage, and you don't even know who your father is. I want to write an article about you." I told him, "Thanks for reminding me."
Yeah.
Great. And so at that moment, he wrote a really nice article on the OC Register, and then Channel 7 News, ABC picked it up. And so Eileen interviewed me, and she did an amazing story. And I said, "Well, I know I've been wanting to find my dad all my life, but now I'm going to really go after it," right? It took me a year, and I submitted my DNA to Ancestry. It took almost a year and a half, almost 2 years, Brad, to even get some close call to finding my dad. People would say it's easy on Ancestry. It's not that easy.
You had to hope that somebody else who was a close relative of yours matched the DNA, because that would be the only way you would ever be able to start tracking down your father.
You're absolutely right. When I first submitted, I got an email back with my DNA result, and I finally knew that I was Irish, Great Britain, and other nationality that I didn't know about, right? All I knew was I was Vietnamese, because based on my mom. And then they send you a list of all cousins and fourth cousin, fifth cousins, and then I got a few second cousin. Now we're talking. Imagine you getting an email from me, Brad. "My name is Hugh Nguyen. I was born in Vietnam. I'm looking for my dad who served in Vietnam. I hope you can help me because I'm told you're my cousin."
Right.
So I had a few really bad experiences. One, some guy told me, "I can't disrupt my family. Why are you bothering me?" And I said, "I don't want anything. I just want to know who my father is." And I had this other case before I found my dad. She was like, "My dad would not do that." And I said, "I'm sorry. I'm not trying to accuse your dad of doing anything, but I just want to find my father." She said, "If I find out anything, I will reach back to you." And she took her DNA test, Brad, And she called me and she says, we're not related. And I told my wife, thank God she's not related to me, because she was so mean to me, Brett.
Oh my God. A lot of people were unhappy to find out that they possibly had a relative who was born out of wedlock in Vietnam.
I had a few. Yes,
Yeah.
I got to tell you that. I started giving up a little bit.
Right.
And so my wife said, just hang in there. Last year in June, I got a hit with a lady named Sherry Stokes, and she was my second cousin. So I sent her an email, and she contacted me a month later, and she said, you know, I believe I know who your father is. And I said, okay, that's
Right.
awesome. And so we started talking, and she says, I'm going to contact Roy, and I'm going to tell him that it looks like the match, because she asked me where I was born, what year I was born. And so she can find out when he was stationed there. First, he said he wasn't sure if it was him. And so she called me back. She says, I'm sorry to break your heart, but he said no. And I said, come on, Sherry. I said, how can it be? How am I matched to you? Right? And so she said, all right, we'll give him a couple of days to think about it. Right. And she called him back, and he says, I think so, maybe. He wanted to talk to me personally. We made the connection. We spoke for the first time. I told him, Brad, right off the bat, I said, I don't want anything from you. I don't need anything from you. I just want to know who my father is.
Right.
And so he asked me to send him a picture of my mother. And so I sent it to him, and he said, yeah, I think I might have been with her. And
Right.
So I was so excited, Brad. I was like, oh my God, my dream might come true to find my dad. He's a very loving guy. He says, I'm coming down next week to see you. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's take a test first. And so I hire a company, Brad, to do a DNA for my dad and myself. I waited 1 week. I got the result, and it was 99.995% that he was my father. I found out before he came down. I told my wife, if he's not related to me, I'm not hanging out with him. And so it was
right. I
so
understand. Right.
She's like, you can't do that. I said, no, I know. It was a blessing, and I cried. I cried of happiness, that void in my heart to finally find my dad. And I called him, and he was very happy about it. He knew that I was his son.
Roy, thank you for coming on. When you were in Vietnam, obviously you had a relationship, whatever, to the extent with Hugh's mom, but you had no idea when you left Vietnam that you left behind a pregnant woman, right?
Nope, had no idea.
What was your reaction when your cousin Sherry called?
The first time she asked me if there's any chance that I could have had a son in Vietnam, and I said, no, heck. And then a little bit later, she come back, I guess it's probably 2 or 3 weeks later, she came back and said, are you sure, or do you know any other relatives that might been over there? And I said, well, when was he born? She told me the train in December, and I had left in May. It was those people, when she come out to the base, asked about me. I wasn't there. I'd done left.
You were already married when you went to Vietnam. You had a child before you left for Vietnam. You have 22 grandkids, 20 great-grandchildren. What did the family say when they heard about Hugh?
So obviously the first thing I had to do was get my wife, lay it out for her. Then I got my children together, laid it out for them. Then I went to my church family, I told them. Then I got all the grandkids together, told them.
You've been married for, I guess, 50 plus years now, right? What was your wife's reaction?
She wasn't exactly pleased,
right?
But we had to do the right thing.
At what point did it become obvious to you, this is my son, I don't even need to take a DNA test?
Sherry being his cousin, then Anthony Patterson, another cousin, showed up, and the date showed up. It just appeared that it.
Right, that there would be nobody else in the family. How else? You were the only one there in Vietnam, right?
Exactly.
After the DNA test came back, what was your reaction?
Well, obviously it was shocking, but it is what it is, and I'm happy.
How long did it take for the two of you to get together to see each other?
Not very long. I was out there, and I think the first time in September, me and my Andrew, my son, we flew out for a quick visit to meet the family.
And when you met, did you hug? Did you shake hands?
No, there was hugging. Then met his family and Lorena and Gabriel, Stephen, and it was awesome. I said earlier when I first started talking to you and his family that even if this didn't pan out and I was not his father, I still want to get together with him. My wife has been out there to visit him. He loves him. And my daughter went with me.
You know, Hugh has your DNA, but other than that, you didn't raise him for 50 years. You didn't know him at all. When you met, did you find that you had any similarities?
Yeah, I got a few. He was a great basketball player. You know, I was pretty good when I was in high school. And after I heard what he accomplished, I wasn't very good. He's just a great human being, period. Proud to have him for a son.
We discovered you because you made a big press announcement about this, Hugh, and the two of you were on courthouse steps. You invited the press. What made you want to come public and tell the world about this?
Well, for me, it was important because, first of all, Channel 7 did a story when I was searching for my dad. And I just felt so overwhelmed that I wanted to let people know that it can be a miracle. I mean, after 50 years, to find my dad and he's still alive is an amazing feeling. Brenda, his wife, and my sister and my brothers now, it's a very loving family, and they love my children and my wife, and we love them in return. So it's been amazing, Brad. In December for my birthday, he surprised me, and he came down to visit me. He missed 50 years of my birthday, and he said, I'm not missing another one. And so that was very touching, emotional for me. And then in January, I took my family down to Cookeville, Tennessee, and they had a reunion, and we met everybody, Brad, the whole family. I have a lot of nephew and nieces, not that I didn't know about.
Everybody welcomed you as you were part of the family. Nobody kind of shunned you away or anything?
No, absolutely not. My brother, he passed away, right, Roy? And so his children asked me if I can go with them to his grave to meet their dad. And I said, absolutely. There's no way I'm missing that. And so that was really emotional for me and my family.
Mm-hmm. And the two of you have also gone to the Vietnam Memorial in Little Saigon. Was it emotional going to the Vietnam War Memorial?
It was the first time for me to get back on the ship, USS Midway, which is a museum in San Diego now. And so to be on that ship with over 4,000 refugees and to see the captain, he's still alive, very emotional day for us. And I went around and gave all the U.S. Navy men a hug. And I was 7.5 years old, Brad, so I thank them all. And to be able to speak to the group, I got to speak and gave a speech. Yeah, it was a beautiful, amazing day.
Did you remember the ship at all?
Bits and pieces. We slept down below at the deck. That I remember. They had really good food on that ship when we landed.
And have you been back, Roy? Do you have memories of Vietnam? Do you ever want to go back to Vietnam?
No, I really don't have any desire to go back. Did what we had to do.
Right.
We could.
Hugh, have you ever been back to Vietnam?
No, I have not. I want to someday.
Hugh, your mom is here in the United States now. Did she support you in helping look for Roy?
She had no opinion. Told me, why you want to look? I said, because I need to know. And thank God he is alive, because I never thought, my dad would be alive, but he is, and I'm so happy about that.
Hugh, you had a younger sister, Linda, and Linda is well here in the United States. Roy is not her dad, correct? It would be impossible.
He's not.
It would be impossible because Roy was already out, or is already out of Vietnam. Did she ever look for her father?
Yes, I convinced her to do the ancestry test also. She has connected with who she believes is her dad, but he passed away like 5 years ago. Her grandfather, his dad, is still alive. So I think she's planning to go to Michigan, soon, to do a DNA to make sure that the grandfather, his son, is her dad.
Right, and then she would know that her father had passed. So at least she has some closure there as well. You said there was 25,000 Amerasians that were born to a Vietnamese woman and an American soldier. Many are in the United States, many are in Vietnam. Would you suggest to all of them to go search? Do you think it's more of a personal thing?
It's sad for me to see that only less than 5% of the Amerasians have found their father. Thank God for our situation with my dad. It turned out to be really good. But a lot of us Amerasian just want to know who our father is. But I think a lot of people, Brad, are scared that, maybe the Amerasian children want something, or it's a disruption to the family. I mean, if you really think about it, the only thing I can say is good things can come out and can happen, just like my father and I would tell all the veterans, don't be scared.
Well, Hugh and Roy, it's amazing, beautiful story. It's sad in a way that it took you 50 years, but as you said, it's better late than never. Tell me what the American dream means to you and if you feel that you've achieved it. Roy, I'll start with you.
Well, of course, I'm 72 years old now. I've had a good life. I've got a great family, great wife. I've had a good job. I pretty well did what I enjoyed doing most of my life. So I'm good.
For me, it's the freedom, democracy, freedom of speech, and to have an opportunity to live in this great country and to be where I'm at. It's a blessing that if you work hard, you can become anything you want to be. And so for me, and having a great family, and now that I found my dad, I feel that, it's a great American dream for me in this great country, Brad.
Thank you very much, both of you, for coming on. I really appreciate your time, and it is a beautiful story.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, you ready to do some meat and potatoes?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, Famata in Trenton, New Jersey. How are you?
I'm good. Good evening.
What can I do to help you?
Yeah, thank you for everything you do.
My pleasure.
I went for my interview sometime 2019, and since that time, I'm yet to hear from immigration office and nothing.
Okay, so your interview, was it a marriage case?
Yes.
And what happened at the interview?
Some of the questions they asked was kind of, my answer was different. My husband's answer was different.
All right. And are you and your husband together right now?
Yes.
Okay. So why did you think you didn't perform well, you and your husband? If you're together, you live together, why don't you think you did well?
Because the person asking the interviewer was asking me questions. Also, the lawyer I went with was asking me questions at the same time.
Okay, so everybody was talking over everybody, and you got confused. Okay, all right. So
I got confused.
Okay, so it sounds to me that you didn't do very well at the interview, obviously, and they don't believe that you're in a bona fide marriage. Bona fide marriage, we say it all the time. It's a specific meaning. They don't believe that you and your husband live together and have a financial relationship. That's what you need to prove to get the marriage approved. So maybe they're doing an investigation, a field investigation, and coming out to your home at some point. But certainly it's now 2019 where you went for your interview. You probably filed your papers in 2018. We're now almost halfway through 2022. So you filed an adjustment application 3.5, 4 years ago, whatever it may be. And you're considered an immediate relative, and I say this a lot also, immediate relative, meaning that you're immediately eligible for your green card and waiting 3.5 years for a green card. There's nobody can argue that's immediate. So my advice would be, at this point, to either threaten a mandamus or file a mandamus, as long as you're confident, and we're confident, that you're in a bona fide marriage. And what would happen when you do that is that most likely immigration, the USCIS, is going to either schedule you and your husband for another interview and separate you and give you a Stokes interview, and hopefully you do better. Or they may give you what's called a notice of intent to deny, listing all the reasons why they want to deny you and giving you an opportunity to respond and overcome those reasons. What the mandamus does is gets the case moving again. And I think that's what you need to do now.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. Let's go to Nikki in Niagara Falls, New York.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Nikki.
How are you doing?
Good.
Okay, I have a question pertaining to something that someone asked yesterday. So my mother passed away, and my sister wants to petition for me. Now that as we
did your mother file for you? Did your mother file for you?
No.
Okay.
She passed away, now that we got a hold of her birth certificate for all three of us, my sister has one name on the birth certificate, and I have her right name on my birth certificate. So I'm like, I heard you told the gentleman that he can get three people to write, some sort of letter saying that they know that she's my mother or whatever, and I can. If they don't believe that, I can get a DNA.
Correct.
How would I get a DNA?
How does that work?
How would that work?
All right. So how it would work is this: you're going to file a visa petition. You would file a visa petition with the affidavits saying that, however the people know that your mother, whatever your mother's name is, Mary and Jane, and it's the same person, and she's the mother of your sister, and she's the mother of Nikki, and we know all of this because of A, B, C, and D. And you submit it with the birth certificates, and they will most likely give you what's called an RFE, request for more evidence. And in that request for more evidence, they will give you options on how to prove that your sisters, including taking a DNA test under the guidance of USCIS.
Okay.
So your sister would do it, you would do it, and then the labs would send the results to USCIS.
Okay.
All right. So you have to wait for it. You have to wait for the Immigration Service to request it. You just don't go and do it.
Okay.
All
okay.
right?
Okay. So basically, my sister and I will take the DNA.
Yes.
And then they'll figure out if we're blood sisters or not.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, I have one more question.
What?
You said something about Canadians can come across the border and work. How does that work? I was trying to listen.
When did I say that?
You said something about the Canadians
on the TikTok that was just now.
Well,
Canadians have special rules under the North American Free Trade Agreement. So certain Canadians in certain occupations, you have to Google occupations under the North American Free Trade Agreement, and certain Canadians, if they have a job offer in that specific occupation and they are qualified to work in that occupation, they can go to the border with their job letter describing what they're doing and their qualifications and get a work visa to come specifically work for that company. But you don't get a blanket work authorization to work wherever you want.
Okay. All right. Got you.
All right.
Thank you so much, Brad.
All right. Good luck.
You have a good night.
Okay, thanks.
And
I think maybe she had something more. So sorry about that, Nikki. Kay in Springfield, Massachusetts.
Hi, Brad. I have a question. So I had called in previous shows. My mom, she was deported from the airport. My question, and you said that even if I'm a U.S. citizen, I can't file for her. It'll have to be a parent or a spouse.
Why was she deported at the airport? For some sort of misrepresentation, I assume, right?
Yes. Right.
So, because you can't get the waiver for misrepresentation through a U.S. citizen son or daughter. That's why.
Okay. If she and my dad, they're married, if I file for my dad, would she automatically be added to that, or he would have to come and file for her once he gets his paperwork?
Actually, this is what you should do. You file for your dad, file for your mom. I would file for your dad first, and then file for your mom a few months later, so that dad gets his green card a few months before your mom, or visa appointment a few months before your mom. Dad comes in as a lawful permanent resident, and now you can do the waiver through the father, even though you're sponsoring. So in other words, the sponsor doesn't have to be automatically the person who does the waiver. You as the daughter can be the sponsor and petition your mom, and we can do the waiver through dad, who has now entered the United States as a lawful permanent resident.
Oh, so is it best for me to just file for him from Jamaica, or?
Yeah, well, if he's
in the U.S.
If he's in the United States and he's visiting and stays more than 90 days, he can adjust his status here, or you can file from Jamaica, whatever's best. But the point is that we need dad to have a green card for a few months before mom walks in and gets a visa appointment, so you can be ready for the waiver.
Okay. And another question. I put in for my 10-year last year, August, but I haven't heard anything, and there's no case update.
Yeah, it's going to take 2 years. Everything's backed up in those 751s. Hang in there.
And it's okay if I apply for my citizenship under the 3-year rules?
As long as you're in a bona fide marriage with your spouse, absolutely.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
And can I get help through you with my parents?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Everything
Thank
is
you.
absolutely with me on this question.
Thank you.
All right. All right, let's go to Cy in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Cy. Say. Is it Say or Cy? SAI in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, Mr. Brad.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening.
How do you pronounce your name?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
How do you pronounce your name?
Sai, you're
Sai.
right. You're
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Sai, yes,
Okay.
you're right.
What's going on?
So actually, I'm calling regarding for VAWA case. I applied for my VAWA on November 23rd, 2020. So I got the first prime facie notice February 8th, 2021. So I got my EAD as well. So my second, I was got for my second prime facie at 2022 January. So it's going to be in next 2 months. On July 27th, it's going to be expired my prime facie. And still I didn't heard anything. If you have any idea, can you please tell me?
Tell me when you filed your VAWA and your adjustment. Tell me the date again.
Both are in same, November 23rd, 2020.
It's taking about 3 years, start to finish. Okay. So if you filed in November 2020, my best guess will be that sometime next year, hopefully sometime in early 2023, not late 2023, you'll be getting some results.
Yeah, I have one more question if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Brad.
Yeah.
So once I get the approval for I-360 in case, so I have to wait for a long time for I-485 as well. It will already. I already applied on November.
Usually you get, once your I-360 is approved on your VAWA, you usually get an adjustment interview about 9 months later.
Okay. So this is the last. I'm just telling you. I provided my proof of the VAWA, 2 years of V-Energy bill, 2 years of lease document, 2 years of bank statement, and my full-time job.
You're asking me, will it get approved?
Sir?
You're giving me a list of documents.
Whatever I sent it, yeah.
What you sent in. And your question is, I assume you're telling me this list because you want my opinion on whether your case will be approved.
Yeah,
Okay.
for your guess, what
I don't know, but I'll ask the Magic 8 Ball. Will Sai's VAWA application, given all the documents he submitted, be approved? And what does it say, Jonathan? 8 Ball's never wrong.
Most likely.
Most likely. I just read it as we read it. Most likely. 8 Ball says most likely. 8 Ball's never been wrong in 5 years of Bradshaw Life. So feel good, Sai. All right?
all right, Mr. Brad. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go to Amanda in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Amanda.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm married to my spouse is in the military. We've been married for 3 years. I just received a notice for interview. Mm-hmm. But he is stationed in Germany, and he's a sergeant. It's been very difficult to get him here with everything going on in the Ukraine.
Get a letter from the military that he's stationed in Germany. Show up to your interview. They'll reschedule it when he comes back.
Okay.
All right.
Will his orders do, or get the letter?
His orders would be fine, but if you can get a letter, that's even better.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Let's go to David in Atlanta. David.
Oh, hi. How you doing, Brad?
How you doing?
Good. So I'm a permanent resident, right? I'll hit my 5-year mark in a few months. Now, my girlfriend, who we had a child together, she came up on a student visa, and she had to stop school for financial issues. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, I wanted to marry her. Do I wait until I become a citizen, or
marry her now? It's not going to affect your citizenship. And then once you become a citizen, file her adjustment application. The reason why I'm telling you to marry her now is that if you do that now, most likely by the time she gets her green card, she will have already been married to you for 2 years. She'll get her 10-year card, not her 2-year card. You only have to go through this one time.
Okay. So she don't have to leave?
No. Marry her, file your citizenship. After you become a citizen, file her adjustment, and you can tell the truth on your naturalization. I'm married to whatever your future wife's name is, and she's overstayed on her visa. No one will bother her.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, good luck. Baby in the background, cute. Let's go to Shelly Ann in Lakeland, Florida.
Hey, good afternoon, Brad. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. Okay, I have this question. It's about a father to join case where my daughter's father immigrated to the United States in 2018, where he should have bring the kids with him, but he didn't bring the kids.
Who sponsored him?
His mother.
Okay.
So the kids are listed on there as father to join.
Okay. How old are the kids
on
now?
On the SEAC website.
How old are the kids now?
Okay, one is 20, one is 18, one is 17.
Okay.
So on the SEAC website, it's saying ready. Okay. Whenever we are trying to get, I don't know the next step in which we should take, because we're trying to contact the Jamaica consulate.
So we have to contact Jamaica, because that's where the file is, to schedule them for visa appointments, and you got to get the 20-year-old here before 21, or they're going to age out, most likely. So when does the 20-year-old turn 21?
Next year, March.
All right. So you may, at some point, if you're having trouble reaching them, get the services of a lawyer to help, like moi.
Okay. So can we actually hire you?
Yeah. Hold on.
So tell me something then. Do a father to join as a year span, like how many years it has to expiration on there, like 3 years, etc.?
It expires when the children reach 21.
Okay, so it's actually there. Okay, all right. I'll have can you connect me to someone so I can speak to them about this?
Thanks for watching. For more Brad Show Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.